I'm going to introduce to you communication styles. And this is the element that will answer your questions about how do the conversation flow in such a way that the person understands what you are attempting to state. With that being stated, communication styles has four communications. I already addressed them with you. It's passive, passive aggressive, aggressive, and assertive. And I've already also stated what these look like in real time. So what we will do then is now we understand that assertive communication is the best form of communication. That's the method that would allow the person to listen better than any other communication styles, because they will not feel like they are on a defense. Well, why do people feel like they are on a defense? Because they feel attacked by certain words, and we're getting ready to talk about what these certain words are. When a person feels attacked, you can contest to your own self. When you feel that you are being blamed, that puts you in a defense. You naturally want to advocate for yourself. You naturally want that to get that person to think differently, and you naturally want what that made you feel get off of you. And so that's the reason why people attack or put it back on the person or blame the person. So the best way to understand how to avoid, eliminate, and reduce these things is using assertive communication all the way through the conversation. And the key element, again, I'm going to have to overemphasize it, is the use of not seeking validation. Because if you seek validation, this will throw your whole concept out the door. When you're wanting them to agree, when you're wanting them to understand you, when you're wanting them to be soft with you, then that's going to cause your brain to then fall back into some of the other ways that it always, which gets you upset. It triggers you again. But when you have a conversation and your mindset is already, well, it's not about his agreement, it's not about him understanding in a way that is forceful, it's not about me controlling, it's just simply about me getting this off of my shoulders. That's it. That's what communication is. It's just sharing your thinking through a message form that goes into the other person's brain. That's it. That's what communication is. And all the other stuff that we focus on is what makes communication unhealthy. So, with that being stated, when we are assertive, we use certain elements to be assertive. Assertive communication is a skill. It is not a natural born knowledge. It is a skill that you have to build. So, for an example, the first thing that I've taught you is to be able to measure yourself, your volume, your tone, your mood, and etc. That will always be the starting point. The second starting point will be identifying how you truly feel. And you're going to come up with real feeling words, not street words, feel in some type of way. That's not in the dictionary. If you can't confirm it's in the dictionary, do not use it, because you want to get to a place that your brain starts recognizing true feelings. You cannot conquer what you don't confront. That's number one. And you cannot resolve a situation with a falsified emotion. You've got to be true with your emotion. A second part of that is you've got to identify the feeling behind the feeling. Sometimes we counteract our emotions through a few set emotions that we've already set up in our mind. So it's kind of like our go-to. I'm angry. I'm pissed off. I'm frustrated. But at the end of the day, if you really uncover that, you really feel something else. It's just that you weren't comfortable with that. Your brain didn't allow it to unfold, and it went immediately to what you are used to responding. I'm pissed off. But in actuality, you were really disappointed. In actuality, you were really hurt. In actuality, you were really feeling unheard. And so those are the feelings that you have to get to in order to really crack the code to be able to communicate effectively. Because if you're communicating incorrect from the very beginning, you can't expect a resolution at the end because you're not using the right data. So exploring the right emotion is going to be your job before you communicate. After that, that's when you can develop your goal. Because how can you develop a goal if you really don't know how you're feeling? You can't set a goal. Well, my goal is to let him know that I feel some type of way. That ain't even logical. Because that's not a definitive feeling. So with that being stated, once you have your definitive feeling, you then will say, well, what do I want from this conversation? Now, it's not that what you want will dominate the conversation. It's that what you want will carry your voice in the conversation. Did you hear what I just said? Your voice in the conversation, not his voice, not the other person's voice. It will specify clearly what your voice is, what you want to be heard about. It's not about how they respond or controlling their responses. You have got to get away from that. And it's natural. We all want, when we say something to somebody, we all want them to cater to what we're saying. That's human. But we find that that's not the best way because, again, when a human feels like they're being blamed, they will go on a defense. And when a person's on defense, it becomes a war. So that's why the yelling back and forth and the not understanding and the isolating and the hanging up on each other and all of that happens because that's just a part of the defense. Now let's start learning what this really is about. So after you understand the true feeling and you create your goal and you look at your template to be able to measure, to become aware of, okay, come on, you got to make sure your volume, you got to make sure your tone, you got to, how are you feeling right now? You feeling frustrated? Okay, so now that I know that I feel frustrated, now what am I going to do with that knowledge, that data? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to not present with my frustration, but I'm going to use my strategies. I may take a couple of deep breaths and I'm going to then move forward with my goal. Because if you initiate a conversation with your mood not being regulated, you're already lost. You're already lost, okay? So let's start off. I'm going to give you a formula to start learning, and this will answer all the questions, that one question that you asked me. Well, how do I do it? Okay? So here's the formula. I feel blank when blank says or does blank. I feel blank when blank says or does blank. Now let's look at the blanks. I feel blank. That is where a feeling word goes. That is in the dictionary, not in the street. I feel unheard when blank. This is the person you're talking to. It is not a I cannot think of something. Just it is their name or their position. So if you're talking to your spouse, you'll call him by his name, or you'll call him hubby, or whatever the nickname you have for him. All right, and I'm gonna come back to that in just a few moments here. The next blank is does or says what. This ties to how the feeling showed up in the first place. So this is the matter at hand. This is the matter at hand. Okay, I feel unheard when my husband says this. So whatever he did or he said that led to that feeling of being unheard, that's what goes there. Now, let's look at structure. This sentence is not to be run on. It is not to capture everything he said all last year and this year. This is for this one event, one situation, one talk, one statement. All right, let's go back to the middle portion, which is the person you're talking